You're a powerless dud. That means you're worthless. Scratch that. You're worse than worthless.
I've heard this same crappy speech every day for 16 years. In this superpowered world, nothing is worse than being powerless. My parents died in a war with alien invaders. They gave me an ability book that should give me superpowers, but I haven't been able to open it. There's only one thing I haven't tried.
This is just blood, okay? It's nothing to be scared of.
I'm gonna be powerful enough to end my bullies, or die trying.
"Settle down, everyone. I can guarantee that no abilities were used," Leo said. However, what Leo didn't reveal was that from the very beginning, when Quinn had stepped into the room, he could see his aura was slightly different from everyone else's. As Quinn was heading back to his dorm room, he decided to first put his stat point into something. HP 20 of 20, Strength 6, Agility 6, Stamina 6. All stats are currently halved due to being hit by the direct sunlight. Quinn decided to stick with his plan and add the stat point to agility. As long as he could hit his opponents without being hit back, he couldn't see himself losing, and worst case, if he couldn't hurt his opponent, he could always run away. Agility 13. The next thing Quinn wanted to check out was the new skill he had obtained from leveling up. Skill Blood Bank Level 1. The skill Blood Bank will allow you to store up to 100 liters of blood in your reserve. The blood bank will automatically be used to heal the user if HP drops below 5. Quinn looked at the skill in disbelief. It seemed like the skill was too good to be true. Essentially, the blood bank acted as a second life for Quinn. Quinn then took out the test tube of Layla's blood and used his inspect skill. Skill Blood Bank. Blood Bank 10 of 100. Your hunger grows. After checking out all the information, Quinn had finally arrived back at his dorm room to see Peter and Vorden a little roughed up. "Wow, what happened to you two?" Quinn asked. "Was it the second year again?" No need to worry. This was just during our combat classes. The teacher made us do a sparring session on our first day." The three of them were exhausted from their first day of combat classes and decided to get some rest. The next day, when Quinn woke up, he was greeted with another message. "Daily quest complete, 5 EXP has been rewarded. 25 of 400 EXP. Your hunger grows. Your HP will now drop by -1 HP every hour until human blood has been consumed. Skill Blood Bank. 10 milliliters of blood will be consumed. Would you like to proceed?" "Yes." After selecting the yes option, a sweet fragrance entered his mouth. The hole he could feel in his stomach had disappeared, and once again he was satisfied and back to normal. For the next week, combat class was a normal requirement for students. "Today's lessons will be sparring once again, but this time you will pick your own opponents." "Don't worry, Quinn, I'll let you in the first one," she said with a wink. "I'm sorry about this, young lady, but I'm going to have to ask you to sit out of this one," Leo said. Leo then pulled out his katana blade and pointed it at Quinn. "Show me what you got, boy, and don't hold back." "Look at him, he cheats in my match and now he's getting special treatment," Brandon complained. Before the sparring match started, Quinn decided to use his inspect skill, but for the first time ever, not a single bit of information had come up. "A strong opponent has appeared. Defeat the opponent for an instant level-up reward." "What's wrong?" Leo asked. "Oh, nothing, sorry," Quinn said as he got into a fighting stance. "All right, students, the minute starts now!" Leo shouted. "I can't believe I'm actually having fun against a student," Leo said, laughing. "Now try this," Leo shouted. The attack from Leo's katana blade came from underneath. Before Quinn knew it, the blade was right underneath his chin. Beep, beep, beep. "Oh, looks like our time is up," Leo said. "About level 14 or 13 maybe. That's pretty good for a first-year student." Quinn was in admiration for the weapons teacher. "Please, would you be able to teach me how to fight?" Quinn asked as he bowed down. "Unfortunately, the weapon you have chosen I do not specialize in myself. There is one thing I can suggest to you. There's a popular VR fighting game that the military students from all the other schools play. The first thing you will need to do is get experience." "Thank you so much," Quinn said as he bowed down again. "Oh, and before I forget, it's been a while since I have had fun like that. As a prize, feel free to keep the gauntlets." Leo said as he walked off back to the center of the weapons hall. Do you mind if us two have a round? Brandon asked. Please, I would like to be your next opponent, Faye asked as he drew out his two short swords. I don't see why not, Quinn said. And please, begin, Leo shouted. Meanwhile, in Layla and Brandon's match, Brandon didn't seem to be doing much at all. He didn't charge in and he didn't attack. All he did was avoid Layla's arrows. It was as if his mind was focused on something else. Brandon then lifted his hand and at the right time cast his wind blast right behind at Quinn's back. Quinn saw Faye's blades and was ready to block, but that's when he felt a strong force push him from behind. It knocked him off balance, and at the same time, Faye's blades went right into Quinn's stomach. 10 of 20 HP. You... Quinn groaned. So you want to play games then? Quinn said. Then let's play some games. Enough! Stop now! Leo said as he pointed his blade towards Quinn. 2 wrongs do not make a right. Take him to the doctor's office and make sure he gets treated, Leo said. After checking the men had disappeared, Quinn had decided to head to the bathroom rather than to the doctor's office. Was because he could already feel his body was healing up. 12 of 20 HP. Your hunger grows. Your hunger grows. 15 of 20 HP. You will no longer heal. Your HP will continue to decrease by -1 HP until human blood has been consumed. While Quinn was busy getting changed, he heard the sound of 2 students talking as they walked down the corridor. Why did I get kicked out as well? You were the only one who used an ability, Faye complained. Hey, you were fine with the plan when I told you about it earlier. Why are you getting so annoyed about it now? Brandon said. You were the one who dragged me into it all because you lost to a level 1. Embarrassing, Faye chuckled. Do I need to remind you that I'm a higher level than you, Faye, or do we have to fight so you can learn your place? That's when Faye decided to walk off in the opposite direction, away from the dorm rooms. A rush of students was now heading back to their dorm rooms, and that included Peter and Vorden. What the... Is that Quinn's clothes? Peter said as he lifted them off the ground. They're covered in blood. Did he get hurt during training? What happened to him? Vorden thought. Did the second years target him too, or did something happen in training? I told you we should have kept an eye on him. We should have those second years when we had the chance. Oh, is Quinn here? Layla said, but in the next second, Vorden grabbed Layla by the hand, dragging her in, and slammed the door behind her. Vorden then immediately pushed Layla up by the door and pressed his forearm against her neck. Tell me what happened to Quinn now. What the hell's wrong with you? Layla managed to groan out. Hey, Vorden, I think you're hurting her, Peter said quietly. The little one didn't like you, and the other one told me not to get involved, but in the end, I'm always the one that has to deal with things, Vorden said. Hey, seriously, Vorden, you're going too far, Peter shouted. Shut up, Vorden shouted as he turned to look at Peter. My name is not Vorden either. That's when Layla saw her opportunity. The grip around her neck loosened a little as Vorden was distracted. She reached down into her quiver that was attached to her waist and pulled out one of her arrows, then proceeded to stab the arrow into the top part of Vorden's thigh. Ah! Vorden cried as he flinched and let go of Layla. Don't you dare move, you psycho, said Layla. I swear if you do, I will not hesitate to shove this arrow right in your head. I don't even know why Quinn asked me to look out for you. If you ask me, he's better off without someone like you. Wait, Quinn really said that? Vorden said in a gentle tone. Look, I'm sorry about what just happened, but I just want to know what happened to Quinn. As Vorden said these words, his eyebrows were slightly twitching. His personality had taken a complete 180 turn, and Layla didn't know what to make of it. It was just an accident at the combat classes today, said Layla. Hey, are you all right, man? You kind of acting a little strange there, Peter asked. Yeah, I'm fine, Vorden said. Well, I don't like her. I agree. We should get rid of her. Vorden, are you okay? Peter asked again. You've been standing there looking at the floor for a while now. Quinn glances around the rooftop feeling happy for his luck. Faye was the only person he could see up there. Lady Luck is on my side today. Ready and go! Quinn then pushed open the door and ran over to where Faye was in an instant. What the... Faye was too slow to react, and all he could do was lift his hand, but the blow was extremely powerful. When the red lines touched his skin, it immediately caused blood to be drawn. Faye didn't even have the chance to use his ability to fight back. It was over in an instant. Blood started to drip from his arms and began to create a small puddle of blood, and before Quinn realized it, his teeth had grown into fangs. He slowly walked over to Faye and could feel his heart beating faster. The sweet fragrances were getting stronger, But Quinn didn't care about the blood that was on the floor. He was more interested in the single vein that he could see pulsating through Faye's neck. Quinn then lifted Faye slightly off the ground and, without even thinking about it, sunk his fangs into Faye's neck. 11 of 20 HP. 20 of 20 HP. Blood bank has been filled 100 milliliters. A positive blood type has been consumed. +1 strength stat. 50 EXP has been awarded. As Quinn was enjoying the last few drops of blood when the sudden sound of the roof door being opened was heard. "You monster! Get off of him!" Loop shouted. Inside one of the dorm rooms, Peter was waiting inside patiently for either Vorden or Quinn to come back. Usually, he would have gone off with Vorden, but the way Vorden had acted earlier had given him second thoughts. The fact that Vorden said that Vorden wasn't his name. Peter wasn't exactly sure what he had meant by that. While Peter was busy worrying about the others, there was a sudden knock at the door. When he opened the door, though, Peter immediately tried closing it, but a hand had come out and held the door open. "Looks like he's not here," Momo said, looking around the room. Peter didn't have a good feeling about this. He remembered the last time they had met and how he had given Vorden a warning. "Well, since you're the only one here, why don't you come with us?" Momo said. "We have some plans, and we think you might be the perfect person to help us." Peter felt like he had no choice but to listen. Momo was a level 6 user. Back on the school rooftop, Loop had just arrived to see his friend being held by what looked like some humanoid creature. It was dark, so it was hard to see clearly, but as the creature held Faye in his arms and was biting into his neck, he could see glowing red eyes. An object started to grow out of Loop's body. It was a long, thin, white piece of bone that was the same size as a small sword. He pulled it out and threw it straight at Quinn. The flying sword bone flew straight at Quinn, but he knocked it away with his hand. Almost straight after, another piece of bone came at him, and behind it was Loop running right towards him. In both of Loop's hands, he held 2 white bone swords and swung them down at Quinn. However, Quinn managed to grab onto both of the bone swords, stopping them in place. When Quinn tried to use his strength to break the bones, surprisingly, nothing was happening. That was because of the difference in ability level. Loop was a level 3 ability user. The special substance he was able to create out of his body was stronger than that of a basic tier beast weapon. The bone spikes had managed to pierce Quinn's body in several different places, but luckily he was able to avoid a blow to the head, and his hands were protected by the gauntlets. 10 of 20 HP. Loop retracted the bone spikes into his body and was ready for the same attack again. As he breathed in, though, he could see Quinn swipe his hand like a claw. Loop ducked down, and instead of hitting him, the attack continued to go past, and the red lines eventually disappeared into nothing. "Let's see what you're hiding under that mask," Loop said as he stabbed one of the bone swords into Quinn's foot, and then lifted another one at his face. Loop was a good fighter. Quinn's sloppy skills weren't going to save him. 5 of 20 HP, blood bank auto use. 10 of 20 HP, 90 millimeters left in blood bank. 20 of 20 HP, 70 millimeters left in blood bank. 14 of 20 HP. He had thrown a total of 6 blood swipes in rapid succession. 8 of 20 HP. After defending against the first 6 attacks, Loop thought he was done, but another 6 blood swipes came straight after, and his bone swords could no longer take it, and eventually snapped. Opponent has been defeated. 50 EXP has been received. 130 of 400. Quinn hated to think about how he would have fought if he didn't have the skill. Quinn then looked back at Faye, who was on the ground. It seemed like after being bitten by him, his targets would stay asleep for some time, which was a good thing, but now it was time for him to feast on a new person. Quinn walked over to Loop's body and cast his Inspect skill. Loop Savvy, Ability Bone Manipulation, HP 1 of 25, Blood type O negative. Although Loop was bleeding and Quinn was able to just drink from the open wound, this would only give him the extra stat point. Quinn lifted Loop's body from the ground. Only a few inches were separating their faces. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing that I'm finding it easier every time I do this. 20 of 20 HP restored. O blood type has been consumed. 1 free stat point has been added. Blood bank has been filled. Strength 13, 3. Stamina 12. Agility 13. Agility 14. In the end, Quinn decided to stick to his original plan and add his stat points into agility. Although Quinn wore his mask, there was still the chance of someone figuring out it was him. However, Quinn wasn't that afraid of them finding out his real identity. After all, the school didn't really care if Quinn beat them half to death. Actions like this were commonplace at the academy. And with no markings on their neck to prove it, they would be treated as madmen without any type of proof. While Quinn was in the middle of his thoughts, he was startled when he heard the door start to open again. Quinn moved instantly at a lightning speed to try and flee the scene, but quickly stopped when he saw it was someone familiar opening the door. "There you are," Layla said. She then looked down and noticed the two bodies on the floor. "Quick, we have to get out of here. The guards will be here any second now." "Oh no, we can't go this way." Layla then started to look around the roof. "I have a plan. Grab me and let's jump." "Are you crazy?" Quinn said. "Even with my strength from this height, I would at least break my legs, and even if I can heal, I still feel pain. Just trust me, come on, I can use my ability." Quinn quickly lifted Layla with both arms, despite his protest. "I'm counting on you," Quinn muttered as he leapt off the building. "Hey, that was pretty cool. You can fly?" Quinn asked, stunned. "No, my ability isn't that strong yet," Layla replied. "At most, I can only slow us down. Come on, let's head back to our rooms. A lot of the students have already formed their own groups and gangs to protect each other. Why don't you create your own group? That's not a bad idea, especially if in the future we get targeted even more. Maybe I should ask Vorden if he knows anyone." "That crazy guy? I told you he was bad news, Quinn." "What, did something happen?" "It's best if you hear it from your friend Peter. Maybe then you will realize how bad it was. After all, he saw the whole thing. How can the school just let these sorts of things happen? Surely there's a better way," Haley thought. As she went to check up on Faye, she noticed he was now sleeping calmly. However, when she looked at Loop, something had caught her eye that concerned her. In a certain spot on the boy's neck, there were two small puncture wounds similar to that of a snakebite. Haley then tapped her watch and waited a few moments for it to connect. "Hey, General, I believe there might be a stray beast roaming around the school." "What? That's impossible. We have seen no signs indicating the presence of one," the voice on the watch replied. "But there have been some strange signs on two students. I'm a little bit worried," Haley said. "Please, for me, would just investigate it?" Fine, whatever you want. How can I say no to my daughter?" Two military men came rushing in with another student on their back, soaked in blood. "Hurry, the student is in critical condition," the guard shouted. They quickly placed the student on the bed, and Haley quickly got to work. She tried and tried to use her abilities, but it was useless. The student was already too far gone. He had died. Haley then tapped her wristwatch once again to open up a digital report log. "Report, confirming the time of death 9:30 p.m., a first-year student named Brandon Richardson." When Quinn had arrived back in his dorm room, he was surprised to see that neither Vorden or Peter seemed to be there. "It's nearly curfew time. I wonder what they're doing out so late." A few moments later, and Peter was the first to arrive back in the dorm room. He slowly entered the room and didn't even acknowledge the fact that Quinn had returned. He walked slowly over to his bed and placed the quilt over his head, slightly shaking. Then, soon after, Vorden had arrived. He could see a bulge wrapped underneath the sheets on Peter's bed. Then Vorden noticed that Quinn was sleeping. As Vorden looked at Quinn's peaceful face, he smiled. "Looks like you were fine," Vorden whispered to himself. "I'm sorry." Each one of them was dealing with their own problems, yet not one of them knew of the others. As Quinn woke up, he was greeted with his usual morning message. "Daily quest complete. Avoid direct sunlight for 8 hours. 135 of 400 EXP. "Hey, did you get a good sleep?" Vorden asked. "When I came in yesterday, you were completely knocked out." "Yeah, I was pretty worn out yesterday after combat classes." "I heard you got in an accident. Is everything okay?" Vorden asked. "As you can see, I've made a complete recovery. You don't need to worry about me." "Hey, seriously though, Quinn, if you're getting bullied or hurt, just tell me." "Is everything okay, Peter?" Quinn asked. "Huh? Yeah, I'm fine," Peter replied as he got dressed into a new uniform, a little bit spaced out. The three of them then started to head to the canteen, and as they were walking through the hallways, Quinn had spotted someone who he didn't want to see first thing in the morning. It was Loop. When the two walked by each other, Loop stopped and called out to Quinn. "Hey, is it okay to talk to you in private?" Loop asked. Quinn had put this into his calculations that they might group up to attack him, but he didn't think something would happen so soon. However, when he looked around, there was no sight of Brandon or even Faye nearby. "Hey, is everything okay?" Vorden said in a stern voice, not breaking eye contact with Loop. Yeah, it's fine, Vorden. You two go ahead. I'll catch up with you in a bit. I'm sorry about yesterday, Loop said as he bowed. I promise I won't tell anyone about your secret. Please, whatever you do, just let me live. Thanks for keeping my secret. Besides, I don't really have a grudge against you. Although your friends were the one to act on me, you didn't do anything. You were just trying to help your friends, Quinn said. Thank you for sparing me, Loop said. I promise if you need anything, I will help you. I just don't want what happened to Brandon happening to me. Brandon? Quinn said, confused. What happened to Brandon?
The news of Brandon's death shocks Quinn. Is he genuinely unaware of Brandon's fate, or is he hiding something from Loop? How will Quinn navigate the tense situation between Layla and Vorden? Who is the mysterious entity Vorden is conversing with?
Look, I promise I'll keep your secret. I know you attacked Faye because of what happened at the weapons hall. It had to be you. So you decided to go after Brandon next after taking down me. Look, I just want to continue living in school as normal. I just don't want to get involved, and I'll stay out of your way. If the other students were to learn about the attacks on Faye and Brandon, they would naturally assume it might have been Quinn wanting payback. However, the one thing that would make them doubt that was the fact that he was only a level 1 student. Right now, only Loop knew his secret, so it was no wonder Loop was afraid of him. With all this information, for now, Quinn felt it was best to play along. You don't have to worry, said Quinn. As long as you stay out of my way, I will stay out of yours. Thank you, Loop said as he bowed down and left the room. After Loop had left, there was a thought lingering on Quinn's mind. Just who did kill Brandon? Was there anyone in the school who had a grudge against him? It was hard for Quinn to come up with a suspect. All he knew about Brandon was what had happened at the combat classes. If a petty person like him was able to plan an attack like that, then perhaps he had made many enemies already. After finishing his talk, Quinn headed to the canteen to catch up with his other 2 roommates. But when he entered the canteen, instead of seeing Vorden and Peter sitting together like usual, Vorden was sitting on his own, and there was no sign of Peter. Hey, so where's Peter? Didn't you two come here together? You're looking in the wrong places, Vorden said as he pointed in a different section of the canteen. But the direction Vorden had pointed in was the higher level tables, the level 4 and 5 tables, and sitting next to them was Peter. What is he doing over there? Are they targeting him? Quinn asked. Who knows? When Peter entered the canteen, he looked at me and said, I'm going to hang out with some new friends I made the other day. Well, maybe we should just keep an eye on them for now. It doesn't look like he's in trouble, and we can always ask him about it later. I hope you two don't mind, but I've come to join you, Layla said as she sat down. As soon as Layla sat at her seat, she couldn't stop staring at Vorden, and the same was true for him. In the middle of the two was Quinn. He could feel the heat and tension in the air with both of them, and he didn't have a clue what happened. So I see that hole in your leg healed up nicely, Layla said. What are you talking about? Sorry, my name's Vorden. I don't believe we have met, Vorden said, pulling out his hand for a shake. You are crazy if you think I'm just going to shake your hand and that you're just going to pretend nothing happened, are you? Layla then turned to Quinn. Quinn, can you not see this guy is crazy yet? Don't call me crazy, Vorden said slowly, saying each word. Hey, I think you both need to calm down, said Quinn. This crazy boy attacked me when I went to your room last night. Look, Layla said, as she pulled down her uniform slightly to reveal the red marks on her neck. I kept telling you, Quinn, he's dangerous. Leave him. I said, don't call me crazy. And again, just like last time, Vorden slowly said each word, one by one. Judging by the tone of Vorden's voice, it felt like he was going to snap at any second, and Layla was prepared for it. She kept her senses on high alert, ready to use her ability any second now. Even Quinn was unsure about what Vorden was about to do. Vorden, is what Layla said true? Did you attack her? Quinn asked in a soft voice, hoping to defuse the situation. I'm sorry about attacking you. When I saw Quinn's blood, I thought that maybe the attacker had come back to get revenge. I thought you might have come in to attack me and Peter as well, Vorden explained. How can we even believe you? Layla said, still annoyed by the whole thing. It was clear to her that Vorden was unstable. However, even Quinn felt like Vorden was acting strange. It seemed like Vorden was always trying to hide something. When Vorden was asked about what happened between him and the second years, and even now with what had happened between him and Layla, I'll just leave you be for now, Vorden said. I'm sorry about what happened. He then got out from his seat and left the two of them alone. for some reason, Quinn was unafraid of Vorden like the others. All the acts of aggression that Quinn felt, it never felt like it was aimed towards him. In the hallway, while Vorden was heading to his elemental combat class, he decided to quickly step into an empty classroom on the way. "Why did you get in my way? We could have taught that girl a lesson." "What did I tell you? It's because of you we're in this mess in the first place. You attacked her. It's our fault to begin with." "Fine, but you understand that if you keep suppressing us, the little one's anger will only build up. The more he thinks Quinn is trying to get away, the angrier he will be, and then when he takes over, there's nothing me and you can do. I won't let it get to that point. I'm sorry, Quinn, for getting you involved in this, but you were just unlucky the little one chose you." With breakfast over and done with, it was time for Layla and Quinn to head to their beast weapons class. "Now, for today's lesson, it will be individual practice. You have fought for the last couple of days with your weapon. Now you must learn how to get the hang of it." With that, everyone went into a separate space with their weapon. "I wish there was someone who could teach me how to use these things," Quinn said as he sighed. "Request of combat lesson activated. A suitable weapon is currently in use. Hand-to-hand combat level 1 will now be shown." Just then, as Quinn said those words, he seemed to have activated something within the system. In front of his eyes, a video started to play. In the video stood a single, tall, long-haired blonde man in a large empty room. On his both of hands, he wore 2 gauntlets similar to Quinn's, but looked a lot more powerful, and his beauty was unmatched. "Hello and welcome to hand-to-hand combat classes for beginners," the blonde man said in a cheery voice. "I don't know how much time has passed, but if you have come across this video, that means you're one of us, and I hope that this information that is being provided isn't useless in your day and age." The appearance of the man and the man's words made Quinn think about who exactly the man was in the video, and he had good reason to believe that he was a vampire. The video continued to play, and the tall blonde man started to speak again. "To whomever this video happens to be shown to, I will now demonstrate a set of skills that you should be able to perform at your level. Our kind and/or abilities work best when we use a weapon that covers our hands. The first move is a defensive move. I call it Flash Step. To perform this, if the system has been set up correctly, you will need at least 15 points of agility. The next skill I will show you is the Hammer Strike." All of this was done in one smooth motion. Just from watching the video, Quinn could see that the air had slightly moved. "Cool, right?" the man said, smiling. "For this skill, you will need at least 15 strength as well. That is all for today. When you are ready, the next set of hand-to-hand combat classes will be unlocked for you." Quinn couldn't help but think who this guy was. The way he spoke clearly meant he knew about the system. Did that mean he was the creator of the book Quinn's parents had left him? But it was hard for Quinn to remember meeting anyone like the man in the video. He didn't even know what his parents' faces looked like that well. Whatever it was, he was happy that the system was starting to help him out more. "Quinn, I'm afraid I have some bad news," Leo said. "I'm afraid you will have to follow these men. They have a few questions they would like to ask you. Don't worry, I will be coming too." A few moments later, and the two of them were teleported into a small square room. There were no windows and a few lights above them. The hooded female sat on one side and an empty chair on the other. Standing behind the female was a man who had the rank of general on his clothing. "Please sit," the general said. "Don't look so worried, boy. As long as you have done nothing wrong, you have nothing to worry about." "Now, before we begin, I would like to inform you of a few things," the sergeant said. "A student by the name of Brandon Richardson has passed away recently. Now, your teacher here has informed me that he and another student named Fei Lan had attacked you during combat classes yesterday. Now, not only has one of the students passed away, but Fei was also admitted to the hospital late last night. We currently have no leads to what happened to Brandon, so that eventually led us to you. Although it's hard to believe someone with no ability like you could do something like this, there is always a way. The woman sitting opposite you here has the ability to detect whether someone is telling the truth or not. Now, please proceed with her demands." "It's okay," the lady said. "I just need you to place your hand over mine." As Quinn placed his hand over hers, he suddenly felt a calming feeling enter his body. "An ability has been detected. Unable to block the user's ability." "Now tell me, did you kill Brandon Richardson last night?" she asked. The calming feeling allowed Quinn to answer naturally. He felt like he was suddenly floating on top of clouds. "No, I did not." "He's telling the truth." "It looks like we no longer have any leads. It's a shame, but an accident like this happens from time to time. "It is expected," the sergeant said. "I'm sorry for wasting your time. Feel free to head back to class." With the questioning over, the two guards grabbed Leo and Quinn by the arm once again, and a few moments later were teleported back to the weapons hall. "Boy, your heartbeat was starting to give me doubts that you were hiding something," said Leo. "But I'm glad you were not the culprit. Otherwise, I would have lost a promising student." With that said, Leo started to walk around the room and give advice out to the other students. That's when Layla had come over to where Quinn was. Quinn explained to Layla what had happened after the integration. "Hey, Quinn, you might not like what I'm about to say, but do you think maybe Vorden did it?" "What makes you say that? Did something happen between Vorden and Brandon?" "No, I mean, is it not strange that Vorden approached you in the first place? He's a level 5 user, while you're just a level 1. And when he attacked me the other day, he kept shouting about you. And trust me, the guy seems crazy enough to do something like that." Although Quinn was trying his best to learn the hammer strike move, he couldn't concentrate. He kept thinking about the words that Layla had said. Right now, there were no suspects to Brandon's death, and Vorden had acted oddly at times. And the last thing was the fact that Vorden wasn't in his room when Quinn arrived back last night. Just what was he doing so late? As they walked out of the weapons hall and out onto the ground floor, them and several other first-year students had been stopped. The people stopping them were second-year students, and they had asked all the first-year students to gather at the assembly hall. "Welcome, every single one of you," Momo said. "Today we have a special event, a special message to all you first-years. You see, there has been someone going around trying to go against us, thinking he can break the previous system that has been around for years in this school. I am here to tell you that this is what happens to those who do not obey." "Vorden?" At that moment, Momo pulled a piece of string, pulling back the curtains, revealing what was behind them. As the curtains were drawn, a badly beaten-up Vorden was on display, tied to a large wooden plank. Both of his hands were slotted into holes, while his body was made to stand, and it looked like his legs were wired down by some type of ability. Just then, several of the second-year students pulled out carts that seemed to be filled with large black circular stones. Momo picked up one of the round balls and held it in his hand. "This here's a metal ball that has been embedded with the power of a beast crystal," said Momo. "When the Earth had found a way to mix the beast crystal with our own weapons, it was a turning point in the war. But what they don't teach you as first years is that beast weapons need to be activated with your ability. Once activated, they can give out extra power. The higher the beast crystal used to make the weapon, the higher the power. So us second years have decided to give you from the beast weapons class and some of you other first year students a shortcut. Today, we will show you how to activate a beast weapon using these balls." That's when a first year student raised his hand to ask a question. Excuse me, but does any of the teachers know about this?" Then a second-year student had come from the side of the assembly hall and immediately punched the student who asked the question in the face. The second-year student repeatedly punched the person until he eventually passed out. "Are there any more questions?" Momo asked. The first-year student stood there silent in fear. Now, usually your weapons wouldn't change color when activated, but as I said earlier, these balls are you just for the sake of helping you learn how to activate your weapons. Once the color is changed, that means it has been activated and its strength is increased. Now today, we will be practicing target hitting. The board here is special, you see. Even a bullet wouldn't be able to penetrate through it. Only the power of a beast weapon can. So today's lesson is to throw the ball and hit the target. Simple, right? The second years are only doing this because they know they can get away with it. They have been here longer than us. Oh, I almost forgot. The crazy boy here has been targeting us second years one by one, thinking we wouldn't notice. How could they do something like that? Quinn, go call Leo. If it's him, he might stop this mess. But as Layla turned around to look at where Quinn was, he was nowhere to be seen. "Pick me. I don't mind having a little try," Quinn said with a smile, standing at the front of the students. As Quinn volunteered himself next, Momo couldn't help but think he was up to something. He knew the two of them were friends, so why would he volunteer? Quinn started to look around at all the second years in the room. There were a total of 8 second-year students, standing by the edge of the hall, 4 on each side that had around 50 first-year students surrounded. There were also 2 students by Vorden, 1 on each side of the board. These students were the weakest of the bunch. It was unlikely that any of the first years would help Quinn out, and even the strongest first year in the room was Erin, and even she was a level 5. It was no wonder, even though the first years outnumbered them, they were afraid. As Quinn held the ball in his hand, a message had appeared. Basic tier beast weapon, round ball. Would you like to activate? Strength of weapon will increase by 5%. Activate. The black ball started to glow. It glowed brighter than any of the balls the other students had held before. How is that possible? He was able to activate the basic tier weapon fully, Momo thought. Wasn't he just a useless level 1? Why do we have these powers? Quinn said out loud. Isn't it to protect ourselves? To fight those who harm our friends and family? Quinn, no, don't. What are you doing? Vorden mumbled, but was unheard. I have taken a beating my whole life, and I was weak back then. What do I care if I take another beating now? Quinn then chucked the ball using all his strength as hard as he could. Instead of the ball hitting Vorden, though, like everyone suspected, it landed straight in the student's stomach, standing by the side of the board. The power was so strong that the student was lifted off his feet and knocked out in one blow. 50 EXP gained, 175 of 400 EXP. What the hell are you guys doing standing there? Get him! Momo shouted. Quinn knew there wasn't much he could do against all the second-year students, so he wanted to create as much havoc as possible. The 2 level 4 students who stood by Momo's side started to come towards him, but instead of Quinn running toward them, he suddenly ran toward the crowd of first years behind him. He bent down and picked up 2 more of the black balls on the floor and started to head for the weaker students around the side, while weaving in between the first-year students. Then, when he was within distance, he had found his targets, the weak level 2s who were standing by the side. Once again he threw out another 2 black balls, aiming for them at full strength. One of the students managed to avoid the black ball, but the other wasn't so lucky, getting hit and knocked out. 50 EXP gained, 225 of 400 EXP. This was Quinn's plan. So far, every level up Quinn was able to obtain an ability. He didn't know what he would get, but he sure hoped it would help him win the fight. What are you guys doing? To anyone who manages to hit or capture that guy, they will be free from any form of punishment, Momo said. Why should we listen to you? Layla said. Just a second ago you dealt with one of us for asking a question. Who knows whether we can trust you or not? Fine, you don't want to help? Attack them all! Just then, the 2 level 4 students who were chasing after Quinn no longer cared about injuring the first years. But before it could even reach any of the students, an ice ball was shot out and froze the water attack in place, causing it to fall to the ground. I wasn't going to get involved, but you guys attacked me first, Aaron said. Ha! Even if you're a level higher than us, do you really think you can take on 2 level 4s? Just then an arrow came shooting out, aiming for one of the students, but before it could reach him, an earth wall was raised. She won't be alone, Layla said. With Layla and Aaron distracting the other high levels in the room, Quinn felt like this was his chance to deal with the rest of the level 2s. Out from the side, a long, thin object came lashing out at him. It was too fast for Quinn to react, causing him to be hit across his body. Not only did the attack pierce his chest, but it also sent him tumbling to the ground. 13 of 20 HP. You have caused so much trouble, Momo said. I don't know how you can activate the beast weapon so well, and your surprise attacks seem to work, but you will always be a weak level 1. Before Quinn could even get up, he was already surrounded by the other 6 second-year students. Vorden, watching the whole thing from the board, felt useless. I have to help him. He's only getting hurt because of me. This is all my fault, Vorden said. If you want to help him, then let me take over, a voice said in Vorden's head. Inside the assembly hall, there was one boy who was unsure of what to do, and that was Peter. He had been there the whole time from the very beginning, but chose to hide in the crowd so he wouldn't get picked. When he saw Quinn come to the stage to try to help Vorden, he felt even more guilty. Why? Because the whole reason Vorden was tied up on the slab in the first place was because of him. The other day when the second years came to see Peter, they had come with a proposal. Help them get Vorden to come to the assembly hall, and he would be protected by the second year. Of course, Peter felt like he had no choice. If he refused the second years there and then, they would have tortured him until he agreed anyway. So what was the use of fighting back if the end result was the same? Meanwhile, at the center of the assembly hall, Aaron and Layla were busy confronting the 2 level 4 students. Hey, do you mind if we switch? One of the second-year students said. My water abilities are weak against her. I see you want a level 2 user, huh? The other student replied. Oh well, just finish her off quickly. With that, the 2 second-years charged in for the attack. The water ability user went after Layla, while the earth user went after Aaron. As the Earth user got closer, he stomped the ground, and a spiked Earth mound followed, heading right for Aaron. However, he didn't have much time to think. With her other hand, Aaron had formed an ice spear and threw it towards her opponent. Suddenly, he felt his legs start to feel cold. When he looked down, he noticed they were starting to freeze. For a second-year level 4 Earth user, you are incredibly weak. Before the boy could react, Aaron had whacked him in the back of the head with the hilt of her sword. How did she win so easily? The first-year students watching said. Although Aaron had finished her match quickly, the same couldn't be said for Layla. The second-year student threw out his fist, and a ball of water came out towards her. It hit her dead in the stomach and sent her flying back towards the front of the hall near Vorden. "Hey you, free me, I can deal with him." "What?" Layla said as she looked up, noticing that it was Vorden who was speaking to her. "Come on, hurry, we don't have much time. Touch my leg." She still had an odd feeling in her gut, telling her Vorden was a bad person, but right now it was the only person she could rely on. She crawled over to Vorden's side and touched his leg as he had asked. Then the shackles tied around Vorden's arms and legs started shaking. Vorden was using Layla's telekinesis ability, but it was weak. It wasn't strong enough to break from the shackles. Layla then lifted her hand, and with the two of them working together, the shackles were finally removed, and Vorden was free. "Finally I get to come out. It's been a long time." As the water user continued to run forward now that Vorden was free, he was more cautious. The last time they had fought with him in the assembly hall, they remembered Vorden having earth powers. At the time, the last person he had touched was Peter. Vorden then started to laugh hysterically and charged towards the water user. It was an unexpected move. The water user panicked and threw out 2 lines of water blades. These were just as sharp as an attack from a regular blade, but could be thrown out. As the blades came towards him, at the last second Vorden managed to twist his body in an odd way, avoiding both of the blades. He then lifted one of the black balls from the ground, using his telekinesis, and threw it out. However, the attack was easy for the water user to block, forming a water wall stopping the ball, but then, crack! Something was felt on the back of his leg, and at the same time a crunching sound was heard. The boy immediately fell to one knee. As he looked at Vorden in front of him, he could only see Vorden with his hands held out. Then another striking pain was felt through his body, this time on his other ankle. Without realizing it, Vorden had attacked him from behind, pulling the other black balls towards him. The water user was too focused on the attack in front. He never thought about an attack from behind. Also, it had come as a surprise to him that Vorden was not an Earth user as he thought. The second-year students had Quinn completely surrounded. As he took a step forward to try to break out of the encirclement, a wind strike came towards him. He quickly went behind the student, grabbing his arm, and at the same time kept one of his claws towards the student's neck, using him as a meat shield. "Me and you both know you're not going to hurt him, Quinn," Momo said. "If you attack too deep and kill him, you'll be in trouble. Attack too shallow, and we will pounce on you and make you wish you were dead." Quinn hated to admit it, but Momo was right. The attacks came out fast and furious from the others. Quinn was able to block most of them. Now his back was up against the wall. The situation he was in was similar to the agility test, where holographic spikes came at him. However, these attacks were more powerful and were greater in number. Eventually, Quinn let a strike get in. Suddenly, the attacks had stopped, and Momo had stood forward with his whip in his hand. Seeing the whip, Quinn remembered that a single attack last time had brought his HP down by 7 points. If he was to receive another attack from it right now, he would be brought down to below 0. The problem was, Quinn had already displayed abnormal strength. If he then displayed abnormal healing, things wouldn't add up. A student couldn't have 2 abilities apart from rare cases, which meant it would only lead to Quinn being asked more questions. Just as Quinn was deciding what to do, Momo sensed something and moved his head at the last second. As he did, a black ball came flying through the air and went past his head. Then the black ball stopped mid-air and suddenly started moving back towards Momo. Momo lashed his whip at the ball, slicing it in half. As he turned around, he saw Vorden standing there. When he looked to see what had happened to the rest of the second years, he could see a few had already been taken down, and those who hadn't been were busy engaging in combat with Layla and Aaron. "So you got free, huh?" Momo said. "Do you not remember what happened to you the last time the two of us fought?" Momo taunted. "Last time you fought against that weakling, this time you're fighting me," Rayton said. "I'm not as nice as Vorden." Rayton lifted both hands, and with it, 2 more black balls off the ground lifted up. Vorden swung his hands in the air, and the black balls followed the same path. "Looks like you don't remember what happened last time." Momo clenched his fist tightly, destroying the black ball held in his hands. He then swung his whip, destroying the other without even looking where it was. Quinn wanted to help. While Momo's back was turned, he tried to go in for a strike, but before he even took a step, the whip came flying out and landed just in front of him. "Don't even think about it," Momo said. Before Quinn had taken a single step, Momo had already acted. It can't be, Quinn thought. He either had some type of mind-reading ability or future-seeing ability. Quinn's guess about Momo was nearly spot on. Momo could see 2 seconds ahead into the future, although it wasn't as clear as others might think. His ability was activated through his eyes. Quinn wasn't the only one who had figured out Momo's ability. Rayton had as well. "Who cares if you know what I'm going to do?" Rayton shouted. "All I need to do is do something you can't block." Rayton then started running towards him. Momo could see the black balls coming at him, and he knew he could do nothing but take a hit. He opted to avoid the water strikes, the more powerful of the attacks, and moved so the balls would hit his back. After being hit with the black balls, Momo moved away from Vorden, creating distance between the two. "I have to admit, I didn't expect you to be able to use 2 abilities. You didn't do something like this last time, but you weren't the only one holding back last time." While in his right hand he held a whip, something started to form in his left hand. At first, it looked just like a bunch of light particles forming something, but then eventually another whip appeared. Only this felt and looked different, as if it was alive almost. Just from holding it alone, the whip would continuously move like a snake. "Let me show you the difference between the second years and first years," Momo said. Even though Erin was currently busy fighting the other second-year students, she couldn't help but sense the power in the room. "So he has one after all, huh? A soul weapon." While the distance between Momo and the others were far away, Layla had managed to make a break and get away from the other second-year students. She quickly went to Quinn's side and could see he was badly injured. "Do you need some blood?" Layla whispered. "No, I'm fine. I'm not in any danger. Don't worry about that. I just don't want to reveal anything in front of all these people." "I understand," Layla said as she then looked at Vorden. "Your friend. I hate to admit it, but he's strong." "Yeah." After looking at Vorden now and seeing how he fought so skillfully, as if he had done it 100 times before, and he was even using 2 abilities effortlessly, Quinn quickly realized there wasn't much he knew about Vorden, and that he probably had his very own secrets that he was hiding from everyone, similar to himself. "Damn you!" Rayton shouted. "If only this body wasn't so hurt from before. Now you have gone and done it. You think a soul weapon is strong enough to defeat us? Well, think again. Little one, it's your turn. It's time to give this man hell." Just then, though, the doors to the assembly hall were swung wide open, and in came a tall, silver-haired female, and standing behind her was Peter. "I command everyone to halt this instant," she said. "If anyone does not obey this command, prepare to be punished." The female's name was Faye Dallum. She was a sergeant at the academy and was mostly in charge of squad training. "Those of you who are injured go to the doctor's office to be treated immediately, while the rest of you head to the dorms and stay inside until you are called out again. Do you understand?" Faye said. After successfully attaching Vorden's arm back to his body, Haley, the school doctor, had gone up to check on Quinn. "What is this? For this much blood, the wound should be a lot bigger." Quinn started to laugh nervously. "Yeah, my friend has a healing ability and managed to heal me a bit before I got here. Well, if you get the chance, send them down here. Their ability is quite good, and it looks like they have done a splendid job. I could do it with help, and I would love to have a student of my own." "Sure," Quinn replied. Meanwhile, inside one of the integration rooms, a large muscular man with forearms the size of thighs was sitting opposite the second-year student, Momo. His name was Duke King, and he was head of the second-year students. "Of all the people it had to be Faye to stop us," Momo complained. "I did as you asked, and now I might pay for it." "Will you relax? Nothing will come of this, I promise you that. You're only students, and these types of things happen, and I'll vouch for you." "Really? So this won't all fall back on me, then?" Momo asked. "Of course, as long as no one finds out about our little secret." The next day had arrived, and it was a weekend for the students. Just like any other school, students did not have to attend classes and were free to do as they wished around the city. However, for the leaders at the school, their day was not as relaxing as the students', for a meeting had been called. Faye was the first to stand and speak. We are here today to conduct the meeting on what to do with the second-year students who were involved in the case involving primarily the first-year student known as Vorden Blade and the students who are part of Dell's class and Leo's Beast Weapons class. I would like to ask your opinion on how these students should be punished. Punished? Duke said. I see no reason for these students to be punished. If you look at the report, it seems like Vorden was the first to attack the others. They were simply retaliating. These types of things happen all the time. I urge the rest of the sergeant to take extra precaution, said Faye. It was only recently that we had the death of a student in our school. Unlike Brandon, Vorden is an original. If his family was to get involved in it, would not be good for the academy. How is the preparation for the portal outing coming along for the first-year students? Leo asked. Yes, everything has been all set up, Nathan said. A green portal has been selected for the students to go through, and the base has made preparations for their arrival. It should all go smoothly next week. Do you know what planet the expedition will take place on? Leo asked. It's best to ask your students to pack some sun cream and their sunglasses, as they will be arriving on the planet Kaladi. Planet Kaladi, a planet that was mostly covered in desert and contained low-tier beasts. Kaladi contained a 72-hour cycle. The three of them then proceeded to head into town. They went ahead and grabbed some food, watched a movie, and had a good laugh, but as they were outside, Peter spotted a group of high-level first-years he had met before. Hey guys, I just remembered that I promised to meet up with a few people from school tonight, said Peter. It was great hanging out with you guys, but I'll see you when you get back to the dorm. Vorden looked at Quinn, realizing that they both thought Peter's words sounded suspicious. Took you long enough. The student standing in front of the group had a scar on his chin, and his name was Earl. What the hell do you think you were doing calling the teacher the other day? Now Momo and the others are giving us a hard time for relying on you. Now, we have another job for you, Peter, and you better do it right this time, you understand? Peter then shook his head. He had already decided that no matter what, he would never betray Vorden or Quinn again. What, are you saying no? Do your thing, Jerry. Then Jerry placed his hand on top of Peter's, and slowly a warm feeling was felt, and the bones in Peter's fingers were starting to take shape. They reformed to what they once were, and he had been healed. He grabbed Peter's fingers again and repeated the process again and again. Without him realizing it, he no longer wanted to feel the pain and nodded, agreeing to their request. Good, Earl said. Now this time, you better do it right, and be sure not to involve anyone. With Peter gone, that left Quinn and Vorden on their own. They were currently walking down the high street, which was full of clothes shops and restaurants. Students only received 10 credits a day as an allowance, but that didn't stop their parents from sending them extra money while they were in school. The richer students were free to spend and buy whatever they liked, and sadly the richer students were usually the stronger ones as well. Although the city didn't open up to any regular civilians, it was still open up to all the workers. The city was full of military personnel, but not all of them were soldiers. There were still cooks that were needed, admin staff, engineers, building workers, and even general people who would run the shop, and in return were given nice living accommodations and didn't have to worry about life on the outside world. So although they worked for the military, they weren't required to be relied on for fighting unless absolutely necessary. While the two were walking, Quinn couldn't help but think back to the fight between Vorden and Momo. Hey Vorden, I know you said your ability resets every day, but you never said you could wield 2 abilities at once, Quinn asked. Didn't I? Vorden said with an awkward smile. Well, there are some in my family that can even hold 3. Really? So how does it exactly work? Well, if I told you our family secrets, Quinn, you would have to become a part of our family. Either that or I'd have to kill you. For a second there was an awkward silence between the two, as Quinn wasn't sure if Vorden was joking or not. Relax, will you? Vorden said. But yeah, I honestly can't tell you anything. You know, Originals rules and all. Vorden belonged to one of the original families that had decided to keep their ability within their family, meaning the only people that knew how to copy other abilities were the Blades. Of course, Vorden wasn't allowed to talk to anyone about their ability. Yeah, sorry about that, but if you don't mind me asking, if you copy an ability you've never received before, how are you able to fight with them so well? Let me show you something, Vorden said. The two of them continued to walk down the high street, which was filled with shops, until Vorden eventually stopped just outside a game store. The two of them headed inside, and there were all types of games filled on the shelves. At the very back of the shop was a VR pod for people to test out before they bought anything. Just like everything else, even the gaming technology had improved significantly after the war. Then Vorden pointed at the VR capsule. "You see that thing? I grew up playing on that." "What?" Quinn thought. But then Quinn remembered Leo mentioning something about a VR game that was popular between students. He said if he wanted to get fighting experience, it would be good if he played a certain game. Is this what he was talking about? There's a popular game played in the outside world and within the military schools called Power Fighter. The game is simple. It gives you an open, empty room and the two of you fight until one loses. Although it sounds simple, the game itself is used to help people train. The VR capsule can record all attributes of your body. Anything you do in the real world, you can do in the game. The only thing that it can't do is record your ability. Vorden then walked up to the capsule and touched the front of the capsule where there was a round ring. A holographic display appeared with the game's setting on top. Vorden then placed his hand on the holographic display and a notification sound was heard. "Welcome, user ID VB copy," the machine said. As Vorden logged into the game, his user ID's information could be seen, along with a dummy model of his fighter, which looked nothing like Vorden. It displayed the total number of fights Vorden had and how many wins and losses. Although Vorden quickly went from that screen on to another, too quick for Quinn to see anything. Then Vorden was suddenly on an ability tab. The list seemed almost endless. "Wait, I thought you said the game couldn't record your ability," Quinn asked. "It can't, but so the game was even more realistic, and so it could be used as a training tool, it uploads into its database every ability that is shared out there in the world that we know today. Of course, only the ones that are made public. So original abilities and abilities that have yet to be discovered aren't on this list, including my own. However, I can select any ability I want. Even if I can't perform it in the real world, I can practice with it in the game." Quinn finally understood how Vorden was able to become well adverse with multiple different abilities. This was something that would only greatly benefit someone like him, who was able to use whatever ability he wished. Most people who were playing the game would want to get stronger and better at using their abilities. That meant they would usually only select their own ability, which was the point of selecting something that you could never use in the real world unless you just wanted to have the experience. "The game is actually very popular with the other military schools," Vorden continued to explain. "So much so that the military has designed its own servers so it only connects to other schools, but you can also just play with the outside world as well. Before you enter the game, you can even input your power level. This way it will match you with those people around the same level. People can lie about their level, but those types of people will never get better at fighting, bullying those weaker than them all the time." Quinn then walked up to the capsule and started to inspect it. It sounded amazing and was exactly what Quinn needed. This way he was able to practice against other students without others realizing it was him. Then when Quinn lifted up the tag on it, there were more zeros on the thing than he had ever seen before. There was no way he could afford such a thing. Maybe some of the other students who could be sent credits from their family, but not Quinn. Vorden started to laugh. "Don't worry about it. You don't need to buy one yourself. The academy has a room full of them." "Really? Come on, let's head back and give it a go." The sun was starting to set outside, so it was just the right time for Vorden and Quinn to head back to the academy, and when they did, they immediately went over to the VR room. Just like the capsule in the shop, it was a room filled with rows and rows containing capsules, and off to the side was a small shop and counter where students were able to buy snacks and refreshments. The room was currently packed with students, just as Vorden and Leo had said. The game was incredibly popular. Looking at the excitement in the students' eyes and faces, Quinn started to feel upset. It felt like there was a world he never got to experience growing up just because he was poor. The two of them went up to the front counter that was stationed next to the small cafe. "Hi, we would like to rent out 2 capsules, please?" Vorden asked. "A single capsule will cost you 10 credits per hour," the female replied. Hearing that number made Quinn gulp. For some reason he had expected the capsules to be free, but of course they would have to pay to rent them. With Quinn's 10 credits he received a day, at most he could play the game for was an hour a day. He didn't need the money for anything else. After all, the school provided the accommodation and 3 meals a day for them. "All right, are you ready?" Vorden asked. "Huh? What did you pay?" "Yeah, don't worry about it. Come on, let's go." The woman behind the counter had handed Vorden 2 tags numbered 23 and 24. The two of them walked around the room until they had found 2 capsules next to each other. They both had large numbers displayed on the front of the capsule in big bold ink. "Here we are. Vorden said. "With these capsules, they're only able to link to the military servers. You can find with others from the schools, but you won't be able to connect it to the normal servers. You will need to buy your own capsule for that. When you log into the game, you can play as a guest for now, and just search for the ID VB copy and join my room when you can." With that, the two of them slowly climbed into the VR capsule. When the machine sensed they were both comfortably inside, the capsule lid slowly started to close in on both of them. Then, before they realized it, their minds were completely transported to another space. Quinn was now in a large, empty white room. There were no walls in sight, and it looked like the room was endless. Suddenly, a screen appeared in front of him. "Welcome to Power Fighter. What would you like to do? Log in, register, play as guest." As Vorden had suggested for now, Quinn decided to play as a guest. Then he went on through the system and started to search for Vorden's gamer ID. Once he had selected to join the person's room, he patiently waited for Vorden to accept. "Room invite accepted. Transporting in 3, 2, 1. Then, in an instant, Quinn had been transported to another empty white space room. Only this time, Vorden was there as well, but Vorden didn't look like himself. He looked like a completely different person. Both his hands had been wrapped in bandages, and on his face, he wore a scarf. He looked like an ancient ninja. Vorden, is that you?" "Oh, sorry," Vorden said, and the next second he looked like the ordinary Vorden at school. "What was that?" Quinn asked. "That, the game allows you to customize your character, so you can make it look like whatever you want. The clothes I was wearing a type of skin, although they cost credits, so I wouldn't worry about that." The sound of the game was just getting even better for Quinn. Allowing the users to create a character to be used in the game meant that no one would know it was him, unless they knew his username. "Do you want to watch me play a few games so you know how the game works?" Vorden asked. "Sure." Vorden then created a party, where Quinn was able to spectate. Suddenly, in the white space, 4 stands appeared forming an arena-like shape, and Quinn was teleported to the seating area in one of the stands. The game tried its best even for spectators to make it feel like the real thing. Once Quinn was comfortably seated, Vorden went to search for a match. Vorden selected the power level of 2. This way, he would only be matched up with level 2s. There was also a quick match option where it would match you with anyone who had selected the same option, regardless of power level. The ability he currently had his character set to was Earth. He chose this because Vorden himself had been trying to learn the Earth ability better, so that way, when Peter got stronger with it, Vorden would be able to help him use it. When an opponent was found, he too was teleported into space where Vorden stood. The two of them started out on the opposite side of the room, then Quinn could see a big countdown appear over the arena. When the countdown reaches 0, the match immediately began. Vorden was going up against another Earth user. Earth users were the most common ability to be found. The match didn't last long though, as it was clear that Vorden had the greater experience when it came to fighting. The match had only lasted a total of 5 minutes, but while watching the game, Quinn started to figure out how it worked. Above each player's head was a health bar, but there was no way to show how much health each player had. Judging by what Vorden had said, this was most likely because everyone had a different set of health, depending on what the VR headset was able to read from the body. Quinn himself knew this because of his inspect skill. Every time he would look at the stats of a different person, some of them had different amounts, and that included him. The next thing he noticed was the fact that there wasn't actually any damage done to the player. When Vorden would strike or stab a person, the system would cause the player to react to these, by startling the player, but it wouldn't permanently damage the person like it would have done in real life. Similar to a game, it would treat hits on vital parts as a critical hit, but the player could continue to fight like normal as long as their HP didn't hit 0. After that, Quinn continued to watch Vorden play a few more games, and before they knew it, their time was up. Although Quinn didn't have the time to play today, he couldn't wait to try out the machine tomorrow.
What hidden power is Vorden keeping from Quinn, and why can't he reveal it? How will Quinn adapt to this virtual world, and what challenges await him? Find out in the next episode.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.